I guess we're doing dark mode today.
Yeah, I turned on the camera and I turned on the call and I just saw Brad lit only by the light screen of what I assume is a light mode monitor.
See, I've got a Google Doc. Okay, because as we have well documented, Google Docs does not have a dark mode. So I'm staring at our list of questions in this giant white browser window. Check this out.
Oh, wow.
That's a dark tab.
Oh, hello.
There's no lighting in this room other than from these monitors because it's like 7 a.m. here.
There's one strand of fairy lights in the background behind you.
Yeah, true. Yes. I didn't do my hair yet. You're wearing a V-neck white t-shirt.
The white V-neck t-shirt that I slept in.
Straight out of bed. You've got travel coming up, business travel. And so our recording schedule is a bit wonkier than usual.
Yeah, we haven't had to do it early in a long time. Like 7 a.m. used to be our go-to during the pandemic when I was working at Stray Bombay and had like a full-time 9 to 5 job.
Mm.
But yeah, we haven't done it this early in a minute. But it's anytime is podcast time. All I need is a microphone and a.
That's right.
Well, I guess a microphone.
Last night there was a fun moment last night because we did the patron episode late last night, and you commented as we were shutting down. You commented that you got to see how off our clocks were because you surmised that all the lights in this office room went off for me at one time, and you surmised that they were all on a smart timer, which they are. Yeah, you were able to see how offset our clocks are by watching my lights go off.
Yeah, either my Windows clock hasn't updated in a minute, or your Pi or whatever is running your cameras is off by about 10 seconds. So
yeah. Well, there's got to be some amount of latency there, not that much. I have a Raspberry Pi 4 running Home Assistant.
Yeah.
So I guess it's going by whatever time that Pi is pulling through NTP. And then what's the latency to the smart plugs? That's got to be measured in dozens of milliseconds at most, right?
It's funny. I actually don't know how often my Raspberry Pi, my Home Assistant Raspberry Pi updates time. I assume it does it daily. Probably not more than that.
Well, you're on what, Home Assistant OS? Like you're on the all-in-one, like the integrated image.
Yeah, I'm running a yellow.
It's whatever your NTP facility on that Linux install is set to query at.
Yeah, I haven't touched it, so I wonder what their default is because it's like time matters for that stuff.
Not to just merge this podcast with the Dual Boot Diaries entirely, but I did hear you say the word time date CTL on that podcast recently, which
I did the way that you said not to do.
I think means that you're using systemd timesync D to manage NTP, so we could probably find out what the query interval is for that.
Well, that's on my desktop. On the Pi, it's a whole different thing because the Pi's managed. I don't think I've ever logged into a terminal, into a shell on the Pi.
There's a very good chance they're using timesync D on the Home Assistant OS as well, because that's kind of the standard built-in systemd way to do it on most distros these days.
Yeah, I wonder if they're based on Raspbian or whatever, Raspberry Pi OS or whatever they call it now.
Probably. I don't know, actually. That's a whole other topic. Like distros for Raspberry Pis is its own topic because
it really is.
There's like Ubuntu has an official Raspberry Pi image. I think Fedora might. There's probably actually quite a few these days, but I really still like running the official Raspberry Pi OS just because it seems like the most tailored to the hardware.
It just says it's a Linux-based OS. I wonder if they rolled something from scratch. It's not based on a regular Linux distro like Ubuntu. It's built using Buildroot. Okay, and it's optimized to run Home Assistant.
Yeah, okay, so they did roll their own. That's cool. It's kind of like the Mister. Like the Mister runs the most stripped down possible Linux install imaginable. Like they also cobbled that thing together from parts, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they did this because they used Docker for a lot of running. Like they needed Docker optimizations that I bet are not in Raspberry Pi OS by default.
There's also just like a ton of stuff for an embedded device like a Mister or Home Assistant Yellow or whatever you're doing. Like there's just a ton of user space stuff that you don't need cluttering up a thing that is meant to just run headless.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the Linux benefit, right? You can have just what you need.
That's right. This is one step closer to doing Linux from scratch. Let's go. You didn't have a response for that.
Oh no.
All right, I'm just leaving that in.
Oh yeah. welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. That was really an amazing 1,000-yard stare.
I'm just shaking. I was shaking my head. I was so shook from that. I couldn't even shake my head. I was just like, I don't have anything to say about.
The very words Linux from scratch just strike terror into the hearts of everyday users. I don't know.
I had a Gentoo phase, right? I used to compile my own Linux kernel on a Pentium 200 or 266 or whatever it was I had back then. It took like 12 hours. It was not a great experience. Probably a little better now. I
might stop invoking Linux from scratch actually for people. Like somebody popped it again. Sorry to just talk Linux and dual boot diaries constantly, but I've been in it a lot lately. But on the PC World Discord in that channel, somebody popped up who is an engineer by day. And was saying like, hey, I don't know what kind of engineer I have. No, it could be some kind of hardware, electrical, or
train
something.
Driver. Yeah.
Also possible. Steam engineer.
Yeah.
But they said like, hey, I'm an engineer. I'm used to knowing how things work, but I'm moving to Linux and I have no idea how things work. And I would love to gain a better understanding of it. And I started to say, well, you could go through Linux from scratch if you really want to understand all the component parts. But then the more I started reading about it, the more I got the sense that Linux from scratch is actually about how to build a Linux system from source. Like I think it's more about like the build environment and how to compile all the parts. It's more about compiling software potentially than it is about just like learning what your computer is made of.
That makes sense.
I think like there are a bunch of books out there like how Linux works and like the Linux Bible and stuff like that I think might be more appropriate. If you just want to like know what is systemd, what is udev, like stuff like that, I think maybe those books might be a better option than LFS.
The hard part of the whole thing, though, is that there's 5 different things that do the thing that systemd does, right? So, kind of. I mean, maybe not 5.
How do you mean?
I'm just saying, like, most of the core low-level systems seem to have multiple variants that do the same thing or similar things or newer versions or older versions or
in some domains. Yeah. The network configuration is... I could name 6 different ways right now to configure network on Linux. Okay, maybe I should save all this.
Yeah, this isn't the podcast to talk about Linux.
This is my stealth. Like I shouldn't say it. Stealth attempt to get onto that podcast, but maybe that's not a bad idea.
It's going to happen. Okay.
Oh boy.
Adam and I talk about it we have our first few guests coming up. So
do you know how long that show is going to run, or is it open ended until you feel like you've reached the end?
The joke that we made at the beginning was that we're going to end the show by deleting one of the partitions on our hard drive.
Oh yeah, I know that. What I mean is, are you giving yourselves 8 weeks, or is it like just, hey, we're just going to keep doing this until we feel like it's time? Yeah,
like I think my thought is that once it stops being about dual booting and that transition, it just becomes like a practical Linux user podcast or something like that. So it could be open ended. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what people like. If people listen to it, we'll keep doing it. Right. That's the rule of podcasting. So. You can find it wherever podcasts are found. I'm going to stop plugging this. This is the streams are crossing.
Yeah, I apologize. It's just something I'm enthusiastic about on a personal level. It's not even like an attempt to cross-pollinate content or something.
No, I mean, look, I love cross-pollinating content. Though. That's great.
Probably also good, but anyway.
We started it because we were kind of both deeply dissatisfied with Windows, right? And which brings us to why we're here today. Because we have questions from people who are deeply dissatisfied from Windows, among other things. There are also questions from people who want to know if like a gazpacho is a smoothie. We're not going to do that one, I don't think.
I really don't know that I am ready for like, is blank a soup discourse.
It's too early in the morning for that.
I feel like we've barely freed ourselves from is blank a sandwich discourse. So anyway,
I still feel like. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of questions this month. This is the Q&A episode, by the way, but a lot of questions this month that are not about Linux, just for people who don't want to hear about that endlessly. Yeah, if you have questions, so you can send an email to techpod@content.town. That's techpod@content.town. Or if you're a member of the Patreon, if you're supporting the show, because we are a listener supported show, you can go into the Q's Seeking A's channel in the Discord and post your questions there. They'll disappear, but we'll see them at the end of the month. And then we will pull them into a blazing white 7 a.m. Google document and we'll turn them into A's. So there we go. You got a Q lined up?
This is an email from Tim.
Tim,
I know I'm a couple weeks late on this, but I still wanted to share my stories around Windows 95. Although I started in computers back in the Commodore 64 days and on the IT type side of things in high school with Windows 3.1.1, I have some serious memories of Windows 95 as well. I especially identified with some of your networking stories, as in my last year of college, my university brought internet access to the dorms. My roommates realized the IT staff was small and created a company that the IT department would send the students to in order to purchase a network card and get it installed and configured in their systems for ResNet access.
That's incredible.
That is like brilliant. Like, what is the term there? That's not a middleman exactly. That's a
middleman.
Is it a middleman? I guess
independent contractor. It's like
independent contractor. My lights just came on. Did your lights also just come on?
No, my lights are on. I have to hit a button to turn the lights on in here.
You will see that my office is now lit as it's normally lit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like a middleman doesn't actually do work. Am I selling middlemen short? I always feel like middleman is somebody who just like sits in between and doesn't necessarily do the labor.
I mean, look, they're an independent contractor is what this is.
That sounds more right. But this is kind of brilliant, I feel like.
The independent contractor. So it's funny because at my university, when they started doing that, they just made the kids who were on work study in the IT department do that, and computer services do that work. And they were miserable. Yeah,
if you're doing the work directly for the big entity, then you're at their mercy or the mercy of their terms. But if you create your own company to do that work, then you start commanding the terms.
Yeah. So I'm sure they got paid like $40-$50 an hour, depending on what year it was.
Yep.
And I bet they charged a lovely markup on the network cards too.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Man, that's brilliant. Tim goes on here. I have nightmares of how difficult it was to get a network card into some of those mid-90s desktops. I still have a special hatred for Compaq to this day because of how crammed full their cases were, making it nearly impossible to add an expansion card of any kind, and the scars to prove it. Never mind the ones where the expansion slots were on some kind of vertical daughter board that plugged in at a 90-degree angle to the motherboard. Actually, like, this jogged a bunch of memories. I never owned a Compaq, but I knew people who had them, and I remember always hearing, it wasn't just Compaq, it was like...
Oh, all the pizza box cases were like that. Yeah.
All the big name PC makers in the 90s were doing weird proprietary internals on their systems, right? Like
no, not all of them.
Not all of them. Like I think Gateway was pretty good about being open.
Dell and Compaq were both notorious, and like Packard Bell and E-machines and all those kind of like the cheaper stuff were doing all weird stuff. And then Gateway and HP to a lesser extent had pretty good reputations for doing like user serviceable machines.
Yeah, Micron, I think. But yes, I remember hearing how non-standard the guts of all those PCs were back then. And like if you cared about upgrade, I guess this is like coming from the mid 90s, like 3D accelerator explosion. Like the reputation was always like, hey, don't buy a Compaq or something like that if you want to buy a new graphics card to put in it.
It was I had a AST Pentium 60 for a while that was a pizza box with one of those riser cards, and getting a Voodoo card into that was really challenging because I couldn't, like, the cable that was the jumper cable that did the pass through for the VGA that came with the Voodoo card wasn't quite long enough to reach from one, I guess it was a PCI slot to another PCI slot. Anyway.
Yeah, that was always the problem. Stuff just didn't fit, right?
Well, and network cards, to Tim's point, were a nightmare back at this period, right? Like they had dip switches and all sorts of stuff because plug and play wasn't really a thing yet.
Yep. Last bit from Tim here. I love the references to BBSs as well. I ran one myself. Can't remember the specific software anymore. But because we only had one phone line at my house, it was only up if a friend or user called me on a voice line on the POTS line first to ask me to turn it on.
That's really funny.
That's amazing. I don't know if that quite meets the bar. Well, I mean, that it is a BBS, but
still counts. But yeah. Well, they were asynchronous, right? That was one of the cool things about them. I mean, there were chats and stuff like that, but
were there?
You could have chats on them. Is my understanding.
If I remember, I think the biggest local call BBS we had was 4 lines, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't remember any kind of synchronous like real time chat features on there, or if they had that, I certainly never used it, but maybe they did. But you're right. It was like, for me, the BBS experience was log in, see if any new game demos had been posted, play Legend of the Red Dragon, and then log off for the day.
The funny thing was the game demos were big enough at that time that it probably would have been faster to drive to the dude's house that hosted the BBS with some floppies.
Oh, easily.
And then drive back.
I think we talked about modem speeds a good bit on the Discord the week of that Windows 95 episode. And my memory is that 28.8 modem is the fastest we ever had, and it was about 3 kilobytes a second at best on that.
Yeah,
which I think I'm not going to do the math right now, but I think it was about 5 minutes per megabyte in the best possible conditions.
That seems about right.
So yes, it was like, I think there were like overnight downloads of some demos for me, if I remember.
Oh, I remember if something was 40 megs, it was turn it on when you went to bed and it'll be done by the time I get back from class the next day.
Oh my God. Now you're reminding me of the precarity of long downloads. And if anything bad happened to the phone line midstream, you were just screwed.
Yeah.
Because I don't
think the phone's making that noise again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway,
because
that's cool.
I don't think the downloads were resumable back then.
Sometimes they were, but not normal HTTP ones.
Anyway, like, we should move on. But because I am this exact kind of nerd, I occasionally will look up lists of BBS software and try to remember the ones that I used. I feel like Wildcat is the one I remember being pretty popular where I lived. Like,
I never had access, so I don't know.
I think we had at least one or two Wildcat boards, but there was a bigger one that I don't remember.
Brad, you just had that week off work. You instead of doing all that hard drive business, you could have set up a TechPod BBS.
That's right. I could have probably tracked down a copy of Wildcat, and you know what? Maybe I'll look into that. Actually,
yeah,
now that
it's a good project.
Anyway, all right, Nathan from Houston. You mentioned your phones losing their trade-in value, and it reminded me of this thing I figured out last time I got a new phone. This is also kind of brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
We keep phones for a while, so they have pretty much no trade-in value when getting new phones. But I realized, at least for the carriers, okay, maybe this is a big asterisk here because I think a lot of people don't want to buy into a carrier contract these days. But anyway, I realized at least for the carriers, you don't have to trade in the phone you're using. You can trade in any phone. So last time we traded in phones, I looked at what they accepted and was able to get $1,000 off an S23 Ultra by spending $185. And $1,000 off an iPhone 15 Plus by spending $325 on used phones and trading those in.
That's incredible.
I can't confirm it works everywhere, but it worked at AT&T.
Yeah, so the problem with the carrier contracts is that they're usually 3 years.
Yeah.
And you can't, like, typically they don't have a mid-go upgrade clause, right?
Sure.
So
I mean, for me, that's fine because I like to keep a phone for a long time anyway. But I guess if you're on like if you like getting a new phone every year, that is problematic. Do you know?
Yeah, or even every other year.
Do you know how the maths out on modern carrier contracts? Like, are you spending more or is it just it's spread out? But do you end up spending effectively the same amount in the final tally?
I haven't mathed out the normal carrier contract because the carriers are so freaking expensive compared to MVNOs that I think that you end up paying you end up paying more twice, right? So they're doing 0% financing for 36 months on the $1,000 of the phone,
right?
But then you're also paying $150 a month for your cellular service.
Yeah, you just reminded me, and I'm on an MVNO now. So like that alone is a deal breaker because my phone bill is now $10 a month, and I'm not giving that up for anything.
Yeah, but also the money you save on the $10 a month, you can buy a lot of $1,000 phones over a couple of years.
Yeah. Yes. Did I talk about?
Yeah, we did. We talked about it, but is it going okay?
Well, that's the thing. Did I talk about the time I ran out of data? I think I did.
Yeah, you did.
Where my carrier
when you're in jury duty
just cuts you off. I can't say every MVNO is that way, but in my case, like literally when I ran out of data while I was walking down the street, they don't even let you like they don't even like allow Lyst their own app for you to go in and buy more data. I had to get to Wi-Fi before I could pay another $4 to get more data.
That's wild.
It was a little brutal anyway.
But you're also on the extreme. Like, I think if I was doing an MVNO, I'd do the $20 or $25 a month thing that gives me unlimited data. So
totally, I'm on the like a la carte. You get 2 gigabytes a month, and you pay more for, which is fine. Like it's only $4 for more data. Like even when I had to double my data, it was still a $14 phone bill. Like that's not a problem. But it'd be nice if they let you re-up anywhere you are.
Yeah, that's wild.
I think it had defaulted to like not auto topping off data. I think I turned that on and I'm fine now. Anyway, all right. Yeah. The second half of Nathan's email. Hearing about Brad's 16 hard drives really makes me want him to get some kind of smart meter for monitoring his electricity usage. I will jump in here real quick and say the 16 hard drives was not even remotely permanent. That was a special case. That's when I had all those extra drives hooked up.
Yeah, it's a short term
and stuff. That's not normally it's 10 anyway.
10's still a lot though.
Sometimes I think he underestimates how much something can cost when running 24/7. I assure you, I do not. Well aware. It is a constant pain point running this server, but frankly, I balance it out by telling myself how much I enjoy tinkering with it. It's like kind of my only hobby. Also, it's a work expense, frankly. Like I use that server for work constantly. So there's like tax write-offs and stuff involved. But you're not wrong. It uses a fair amount of electricity. When I was looking at making my own NAS, I could have built it cheaper than a Synology, but couldn't get the power usage as low. After a few years, the custom built one would be more expensive because of the energy cost. Supposedly, the average cost of electricity in California is 33.52 cents per kilowatt hour. At 24/7 usage, that would be just under $3 a year per watt, not including the electricity needed to cool the home back down. When you're going to have something running for 5+ years, each watt really adds up. Yes, like you're totally right about all of this.
So the weird thing is in California, it's 33, or at least for us, it's 33 cents per kilowatt hour at our low rate for delivery for energy. But then the delivery from PG&E is another 30 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
So it's like 70 cents, 65 to 70 cents. And it goes up on peak hours.
It's
because
rough.
we're on the EV plan.
Yep.
So it's cheap during off peak and expensive during peak. This is why I have the Synology and the 5-watt N100 server.
Yeah, although I mean, like you have to break down what is consuming power in the boxes. You know, like the hard drives are not a small percentage. And that's going to be the same in a Synology or a big giant server.
Well, that's why I have three hard drives spinning in my Synology and not 10.
Yes. Well, anyway.
Yeah, but what's the draw on your server? Have you plugged a watt meter into it? Just out of curiosity.
So I have it plugged into a UPS, so I can I eyeball it, but I have to mentally subtract everything else plugged into that UPS because it just gives you one flat output reading. I don't know. It's hard to say. I bet it's probably 100 watts or something, at least, maybe more. You know what? I'm going to skip to a Discord question here because there's one that is quite related to what we're talking about here. Yeah. That I can add on to. This is a Discord question from Brain. It's a great username. I recently came into possession of some large capacity SAS hard drives. Initially, I wanted to integrate them into my mini PC-based home lab setup, but it appears to be an impossible task. I don't want to invest in a 24-bay JBOD to use these drives. Is it worth finding a way to use 6 12-terabyte SAS drives or just move on? I mean, you know what my answer is going to be. Find a way to use the hard drive.
Get that 24-drive bay, right?
Maybe not that. That's pretty big. I'm taking mini PC to mean like B-Link style or like kind of tiny Mac Mini style box. So you probably don't want a giant backplane 24-bay thing sitting around if you're trying to keep things small.
My assumption, mini PC says small form factor at biggest, which means you're going to have 2 drive bays.
Yes. So I looked this up. SAS drives apparently need a special interface. So you can plug. God, I'm trying to think. You can plug SATA drives into a SAS interface. You can't plug SAS drives into a SATA interface. It's
a one way, but not the other. Yeah, basically.
SAS, it's what is it? Serial attached SCSI, I believe is the acronym. I think it's basically it's like data center level storage. So I don't know how you came by these drives, although if you got them for free, as it sounds like you did, then I extra think you should use them. But you're going to have to buy a card. You're going to have to buy a SAS interface card, like a host bus adapter to use them, it sounds like.
The problem is if you're on a mini PC or an ITX machine, you probably only have one PCI Express slot, and they're
plug that in potentially.
Although, I was going to say there are now NVMe slot to PCIe by 4 adapters.
Yes,
that you can buy. So you could.
What are we even doing? What are we doing?
Man, it's all PCI Express lanes. They're all the same.
I wonder if there's going to be a more formal standard for plugging cards into NVMe sockets at some point.
Maybe
it feels like that's all motherboards are shipping these days is NVMe sockets.
We were talking about this on the Full Nerd a few weeks ago, but it feels like the small form factor stuff and ITX is kind of in a weird state of flux right now. Cause there's a pretty well established ITX basic shape for computers, but then there's also people doing a lot of really weird stuff with putting PCI Express slots on the back and of those boards and building things that are designed to run with bridges that are, that will let you put your PCI Express cable someplace else. or like, so who knows? It feels like we need to have another round of, hey, here's what the standard is, because that ITX standard is spun out of like shuttle cases, proprietary shuttle cases 20 years ago. And
it's such a mess. Gordon continues to be right. We should have moved on from ATX a long time ago.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It feels like I'm trying to think of the other basic building blocks of modern computing that have modernized. Like we finally replaced BIOS with UEFI like 15 years ago or something. You know what I mean? There's like a bunch of legacy stuff from 30 to 40 years ago that has been replaced, and it feels like the ATX standard should have been one of those by now. It's
even just stuff like, hey, where the CPU has to be on an ATX board and the orientation of the memory are non-optimal for airflow for a lot of reasons. Like we're starting to see some different kinds of memory come on board that'll maybe change that. Yeah. But I'm skeptical whether they'll take off, because they're more the non-stick formats are going to be a lot more expensive, and you're gonna have to make some choices and stuff like that. So I don't know.
There's so much you could do. I mean, the physical form factor is the main thing, making things tidier and adding more capabilities and stuff. But there's also like digital stuff. You could what about better diagnostic information? Like what if they built that into the spec of CTX or whatever the next standard is, where like what if there was a standard output format for something better than just like BIOS, like 2-digit numerical BIOS error codes? Like what if you had some standard interface for getting like real information about what your PC is doing to fix problems?
What if Windows had an interface for getting voltages and temperatures and fan speeds back out to software? That would be nice.
It sure would.
The ITX thing though feels more like, I feel like ATX is in a pretty good place right now. I feel like the ITX stuff is in a weirder spot, and So I guess the question for me on this one is, do they have PCI Express slots? And if they do, then you just buy a SAS PCI Express card and you're good to go. But if you don't, I don't know what the option is, right? Like, are there SAS backplanes that are like USB-C to SAS bridges?
I doubt it.
Because that seems like it would be not performant and bad.
It also, my guess is there's just no use case that would drive production of something like that, because SAS is again a data center thing, and data centers don't give a F about anything except making things work. Like they don't care about tidiness or modularity or whatever.
So I will say, at the flea market a couple weeks ago, I saw a 24 bay IBM SAS backplane 2U or 3U, I guess, rack mount dealie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, does this work? And the guy said, oh, yeah, it works. And I was like, how much do you want for it? And he told me, and I was like, oh, that's a good deal. And I didn't buy it. And I kind of regret that, but also I don't have a place for it. So
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing that I feel like you get the rack first and then you source stuff like that.
You can just pile the rack stuff up in a pile. It'll be fine.
Yes. Okay. We'll move on. I will give me 30 seconds to mention one of my own personal bugbears real quick about this question. If you're buying old server cards like we're talking about here, like if you're buying an old host bus adapter, and for the record, to brain, if you really want to go down this road, look up like LSI host bus adapters. That's the type of thing you're going to need to plug those SAS drives in. The thing I have come to understand is that 15-year-old server cards like that do not support modern ASPM, which is like power management at the PCI Express level.
Oh,
I have a SAS controller and a Mellanox network card in my server that are both like 15 years old. When your PCI Express cards don't support modern ASPM, it also limits the C states, the sleep states, the low power states that your CPU can descend into.
Oh.
So I'm probably leaving even more electricity usage on the table. This is why I really wanted to address this question. I'm probably burning even more energy because my CPU can't, and I've monitored this, like my CPU can't, and the server can't go into the deepest sleep that you would want, because those cards limit it from doing so. There is a blog post called The Curse of ASPM that I'm going to link in the show notes for people who really want to hear an insanely exhaustive amount more about this. Subhead of this blog post: you either get to C8 or you die trying.
I looked at this blog post. It's a crazy blog post.
It's insane. It is utterly this person. I bow to this person. They went and bought like every card they could find to try to eliminate this problem. It's really an incredible amount of detective work. Anyway, enough about my personal madness. Let's read something a little more middle of the road here. Cat will mew. I'm just going to bounce around between emails and Discord here.
Yeah.
Watching Hollow Knight Silksong crash Steam and the eShop and even Xbox, and thinking back to how the Switch 2 launch melted down the websites of some of the largest retailers on the planet, I have to ask, how is this still happening? Wasn't the whole promise of the cloud supposed to be infinite scalability? Is it bad architecture? One weak link in the chain? Sites cheaping out somewhere?
Yeah, it's wild, right?
It is on some level. Yes, it's crazy. On another level, though, this is going back a while, but I remember reading about MMO launches. I feel like were the prototypical case of this.
Well, yeah, and early MMOs, especially, we didn't have ways to test the way that we do now. It was hard to spin up 1,000 users, fake users, to hit your login server at the same time to see if it was going to hold the rush. Yeah. Now people do this is why games like Battlefield that expect to have big launches do big open betas that they gradually roll out access to. Yeah. And it's also, I think, why they do early access with higher editions is so they get an initial, instead of having one wave, they have 3 waves and it gets 30% fewer people on each wave. Right.
Yeah. The answer I always got here about hey, why do MMO launches still go sideways all the time? The answer I always got there kind of always amounted to corporations just redlining their infrastructure all the time, which is to say they're gonna build their infrastructure, they're gonna spec it for the 95% environments or use case or load level. They're not going to go out of their way to build for the 2% insane load of launch. You know what I mean? They're not going to build the extra capacity in because they want to save money. They're not going to build in the capacity to handle a one-off, one bad night event. They're just going to let it do what it's going to do because 95% of the time it's not going to be near that level of load and they'll be fine.
Well, yes, but also for something like a game. So, for example, when you're buying servers for a game that has dedicated servers, typically you do. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do it. If it's a big game, then you're going to do a mixture of bare metal servers that you actually have, you pay somebody to put some server machines in a data center someplace. And often because of the way game servers work, those aren't giant, they're not Threadrippers or something like that. Cause you're not able, often on a game server, since game servers are very regularly single threaded, you want a smaller number of faster cores because that'll let you have more people on the server at a time or something like that. So if you're hosting something like Fortnite, they're going to have a bunch of 14900Ks in a data center someplace with one shard or 2 Fortnite instances at a time on them. Right. And then they'll also have, and those hardware machines will be the baseline. Right. And that's what's running all the time, because you can't turn those on and off really. Updating them is a kind of a hassle, yada, yada. They'll also have a cloud solution for days that Drake shows up to play on some stream and 1 million extra people play Fortnite that day. And those machines are more expensive per minute or per hour to run because they're cloud host, whereas the data center machines are flat rate plus bandwidth or something like that. But you can turn them on and off when you're not using them. So figuring out that math is a big part of what a DevOps or a release manager or live game ops person does these days. Now the place that Cat Will Mew is talking about is, hey, we have not 10 times, but 1,000 times the number of people that are usually on this site, or 10,000 times the number of people usually hitting the site. And then they find the bottlenecks and the weird edge cases that don't exist in the day-to-day. So Apple is a good example of this. For iPhone launches, for a long time, everything would be great. Apple's website would be going great. You'd put all your stuff in the cart, you'd order the phone, and then you'd get to the part where you put your credit card in and it's oh man, we're not going to do this. Or you'd get to the part where you apply for the Apple financing or Verizon's 3-year thing, and their connections to these outside services would bomb out. Yep. Which is why they started doing hey, you can pre-approve your Apple loan, your Verizon connection, your AT&T connection, your credit card charge.
That's very smart.
A week in advance, and then just on the morning of, you just get up and log in at 5 o'clock in the morning and hit the give me a phone button.
Sidebar, I guess they're catering to a global customer base here, but why does Apple continue to set the pre-orders for insane early in the morning, US time, which surely is a huge, I mean, that's their home territory.
I bet it's actually so that they don't have an enormous wave of people all hitting at the same time.
Oh, I guess sure. That is a good way to like naturally filter some people out who don't want to wake up.
Yeah, they're going to sell the phones. They're going to sell the phones to the same people.
Yeah.
The question is, how can they spread out that over the infrastructure? I bet like the capitalist me says, oh, they looked at which time zones they could hit most effectively at that launch time. But then the realist me looked at it and was like, oh, people are going to buy the phones regardless. So it doesn't matter. They just did it whichever way it levels out the infrastructure hit the most. So
I believe that.
Yeah. Anyway, like I think every time they do one of these launches, they find like Target probably discovered 5 new bottlenecks on their checkout process on Switch 2 pre-order day.
I am still smarting from that Switch 2 pre-order experience, and Target was the worst of all of them.
Yeah, because they kept saying that, like Target was like, hey, man, we got a Switch for you. Yeah, and then you go through the check card and be like, no, we don't have a Switch for you.
All the others, to their credit, put me in a queue, which also screwed me in different ways because I saw people on my feed who got in the queue way after I did for 10 minutes and then bought a Switch, and I sat in it for an hour and never got the opportunity. But at least those just had me looking at a queue, whereas Target, I got to the confirm order step like 4 times and it never worked.
Yeah.
Infuriating. Anyway. Okay, next email is from Joel. This is about getting AirPod Pros working with a Steam Deck. I have Magic Pods installed to get my AirPod Pro 2s working right on my Steam Deck. You're a Steam Deck guy. You're going to have to help me out with some of these terms here. It does require Decky. I have no idea what Decky is, but if you're down with Homebrew, it supports every feature I can think of for the AirPod Pros 2, including conversation awareness. It's pretty amazing. I can't recommend it enough.
So I thought conversation awareness happened on the headphones, but I guess it doesn't because I only use my AirPods with Apple stuff. Decky Loader, for folks who don't know, is a Homebrew plugin launcher for the Steam Deck that lets you extend the Steam Deck, the Steam Deck handheld UI, not the desktop UI.
Got it.
You can like style menus, you can add other storefronts, stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm looking at Magic Pods here. Easily control AirPods and Beats headphones and more.
Well, so the Beats headphones use the same chips as the AirPods.
Of course.
But yeah, this looks pretty good.
Actually, it supports a bunch of Samsung Galaxy buds as well, according to this.
It looks like it does the big thing is it fixes the Apple devices grabbing the AirPods back, and the conversation mode is really quite nice. I'm gonna have to try this out. I do not have I don't have Decky Loader on my current Steam Deck. I don't think right now, but I'll put that on because this is worth futzing with. Yeah, it seems good.
I don't know what the term is for the like Apple device, whatever you just said, the Apple device grabbing the headphones back.
Yeah.
I don't know what the term for that is, but that is something I was thinking about as I have thought about getting AirPod Pro 3s for potentially for Switch 2 use. Like, is that a pain dealing with non-Apple devices and having to like control what device is using them at any given time?
So yes and no. You have to whereas with the Apple devices, when I put my iPhone down and pick up my iPad, it just switches over automatically, right? With non-Apple devices on the AirPods, you have to manually go into the Bluetooth menu and hit the connect thing. So it doesn't do it automatically.
And then what about moving back to an Apple device? Do you have to manually pair again there, or is that smart enough to just do it?
So you don't have to pair, but you do have to go into the menu and hit the connect button once you're coming back. Sometimes it's like it's really weird. Like
that's the worst thing about Bluetooth is sometimes.
Well, I think the rule is if they're in the case, then it resets the connection and it just goes to whatever thing you're using again.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you like have them in your ears and you want to use your phone and then you switch to the Steam Deck and then you want to switch back to the Switch and then you want to switch back to the phone, you're going to have to do some Bluetooth menu work.
Like that's the most annoying thing about dealing with Bluetooth pairing is that it never seems consistent to me. Like, sometimes my watch will just find the earbuds when I pull them out of the case. Sometimes I have to go in there and tell it to do it again.
Yeah. So it's way better than the traditional Bluetooth method, which is, hey, your headphones support X number of connections and everything kind of works okay until you get X+1 number of devices. It's not as good. It's not as good as the default. I want to see what this implementation is because I've not used a a non-Apple implementation of this, and it looks like they have a Windows version of this thing too, of Magic Pods, so you can get it for other non-Apple devices, which is exciting. I'm gonna set this up on my laptop and on my Steam Deck.
Cool.
The other thing is, after we talked about the AirPods Pro first generation had a hard time connecting to Steam Decks for whatever reason, multiple people wrote in to let us know that the AirPod Pros 2 didn't have that problem. They changed whatever, either Valve or Apple changed whatever was the issue, because people were able to connect with that. And I've since connected my AirPod Pros 2 with the Switch 2, and it works great.
Yeah. I'm going to give the 3s a little longer to see what people's experiences are with various devices. I did a little bit of cursory looking around on Reddit, on the Switch 2 subreddit, about Bluetooth headphones in general on there, and the results did not sound super encouraging. People said it's basically the same as, or similar at least, to the Switch 1. You're looking at like 150 milliseconds of latency to Bluetooth headphones, because Nintendo uses like old Bluetooth and old codecs and stuff. I mean, I guess some of that depends on how sensitive you are to that kind of thing, but that sounds like kind of a lot to me. So I don't know if the dream might be dead. I'm not sure.
150 milliseconds is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
You could just get a wire plugged in headphones.
It's true. I don't know, man. Dealing with corded noise canceling headphones on an airplane is kind of getting old. But
I mean, that's true.
Anyway, yeah. All right. Last email from Mike. Speaking of Nintendo, say you managed to get a ticket to the Nintendo Museum in Japan and are salivating at all the exclusive Nintendo merch available from such a trip. At what point would you say that there are too many coffee mugs to take back with you to the United States? I believe they sell 17 or more coffee mugs for a variety of Nintendo systems. I will say, unless something has changed in the last few months, it's 15. I thought of Brad because on a Nextlander podcast, Brad mentioned wanting to have a complete set. The reason I know the number of coffee mugs is because I now own 14 of them.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Largely thanks to an incredibly kind benefactor who was willing to haul some mugs across the ocean for me.
Can you go to the museum without having a ticket? Because the tickets are kind of hard, right?
No, as far as I know, it's still a multi-month lead time, I think, to get a ticket for the museum.
Wow.
I believe this benefactor said they would have brought all 15, but they were sold out of the Switch mug on the day.
Boo.
And I still owe that person a beer. They were incredibly kind to do that.
Wow.
I've been meaning to order that Switch one. I found an exporter in Japan that sells them for like not too bad of a markup.
Okay.
But I never got around to doing it before the tariffs went into effect, and now I don't know how that's going to affect something like this.
Oh yeah. So they say, you can only get in if you have a ticket. That's wild.
Yeah. Yes. The museum is definitely absolutely not just show up and go.
It almost seems like if you want to go to the museum and you don't live in Japan, you have to you get your tickets and then book your entire trip around going to the museum.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yep. Still quite exclusive. I have to assume in another year or two, it'll probably die down a little bit.
I mean, you say that, but maybe not.
One would hope, but I don't know. Anyway, to answer your question, no number of mugs is too many. Those are extremely nice mugs. I love them deeply.
I was going to say, I'm starting to pare down mugs, and I'm keeping the couple that I have that are handmade by friends and family members, and like the Aperture Science ones. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is going. The old tested mug, I still have one of those.
Yes. I'm packing all of my old Giant Bomb glassware and ceramic merch away.
Wow.
So it doesn't get broken at this point. Anyway.
There you go.
All right. Late Night Rec. How many sets of sheets do you own? How many did you own when you were living alone? How many is too many?
Okay, I don't remember how many I owned when I was living alone, because that was 100 years ago at this point. But I have 2 identical white sheets for each bed, so that don't have to so I can take the sheets off,
smart.
Put new sheets on, and not have to have the bed down all day while we're washing sheets. I don't have 2 duvet covers, so the duvet cover is separate from that.
Okay.
And then we also have sets of flannel sheets for both beds.
I'd say we have probably 3 or 4 sets now.
Yeah.
We are on, well, it's gotten a little looser, more loose than I would like lately. We need to get our act back together, but we became like change the sheets once a week.
Oh God, that's too much.
What are you talking about?
Like once a week?
Yeah, hell yeah.
What are you doing in there, man?
Nothing. I mean, I just like sleeping in clean sheets.
I do like sleeping in clean sheets, but I mean, so I guess you're like, I do the sheets more often than I do the duvet cover. For me, for a long time, I used to not use a top sheet. I would just do the duvet cover. So that meant you had to wash the duvet cover every time, which is an enormous pain in the ass because you got to take the thing out and you got to tie it back in. And it's just a lot. When we switched to using a top sheet again, then washing the duvet cover became an every other time I washed the sheet situation. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, we only wash the fitted sheets and top sheets regularly, like the duvet or blankets on top of that don't get washed nearly as often. But I tried to get a little sciencey with this and Google around for like tests of, bacteria, dead skin, dust mites, whatever.
Yeah.
Because like everywhere you go, like the feedback seems to be, hey, you're probably not washing your sheets enough, but couldn't find anything like super definitive.
Look, big laundry detergent wants you to think that, Brad.
Probably. What started it for me was becoming a night showerer during the pandemic.
Yep.
At that point, it was basically okay, I'm going to bed clean now because I'm showering right before bed every night, and so I want the sheets to be clean as well.
But then if you're going to bed clean, then the sheets get dirty a lot slower.
Yeah, but then you just maximize your cleanliness by both showering at night and changing the sheets more often.
Too far, man. I gotta say, we switched from kind of fancy sheets that we used to use for a long time when they got really expensive during the pandemic, and we tried a bunch of cheap sheets from different places, and the Target, like the Target brand, the nice Target brand sheets with the deep pockets in that are my favorite sheets we've ever had. I think they're easy to make the bed. The gussets on the side are deep enough that they work on even the super thick mattresses in my daughter's room. And they have the top and bottom labeled, which I love. Like, so when you're trying to figure out which side is which on a queen size bed, which is basically square, it's really nice.
That is smart.
Yeah.
All right. Ambush Penguin Charlie.
Also, don't buy shit from Target, I guess, right now. I forgot.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Ambush Penguin Charlie writes in, what's your process for documenting yourself when you're setting up something like a new operating system or an app install? I've heard you mention this several times on different podcasts, and I'm curious what that looks like for you in practice. Software setup feels one and done and ephemeral enough that it's hard for me to remember, plan ahead, or take notes as I go. Unlike hardware installs, which feels higher stakes, and so I pre-plan, then I then use the end product to trace backwards to aid in filling in gaps in documentation.
Oh, so okay. I got kind of obsessive about this when I started doing server stuff with the FreeNAS and TrueNAS years and years ago, because I would do something clever and then a year later it would break or need updating, and I wouldn't remember how to update it or fix it when it broke, and then I'd have to recreate all the work that was doing that. So the tool that I've used has changed off and on over the years. I used simple note type note-taking apps for a long time. These days I'm using Notion just because it's easy. It syncs automatically with everything. The free version is more than enough for personal note-taking. And I have basically a tree in my Notion that's just like one for each one that's the computers in the house, and then the other one is things I've figured out how to do. And my bar for that is, if I had to Google some stuff and read a bunch of forum posts to figure out how to do something, I write it down. And I used to just do links to those forum posts, but I've gotten burned enough by the link rot that now I just copy and paste the relevant shit along with the link and put that in the documentation. So it's not like I'm writing docs that I would post on the internet someplace. I'm literally just giving myself enough information to understand what I did and how to recreate it if I need to. And then also, if I do something and they're like, here's how to update it, I usually copy that information over too. Because like, for whatever reason, I can never remember how to update the Pi-hole, even though I just have to log in with SSH and type Pi-hole up or whatever.
Pi-hole dash upgrade.
Yeah, dash upgrade.
Maybe it's dash up, actually. Yeah. I've moved on, as we have mentioned. That's a way better answer than mine, which is that I don't document anything because I just can't be bothered, which is is what it is. It leads to every time something breaks, having to go do the detective work of figuring out what broke and what I did and how to recreate it. But anyway,
yeah, it's
there's never going to be a hard and fast answer for this. But what's more work, like doing the documentation as you go, or doing extra work to fix something because you don't remember how on the back end? Like it's more work in both cases. So I'm not sure what's worse.
For me, I just do 5 minutes of copying and pasting and then dump it into the Notion bucket, basically.
Yeah. I hosed the Debian install on my server about 6 weeks ago when I was moving to Trixie when it came out. I had to rebuild that entire thing from scratch, so that was kind of an extreme example.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, to be clear, the old install was entirely there; it just wasn't working.
That's always nice.
And so, the point is, I could copy all the configuration files and stuff over. It was substantially easier than doing literally everything from scratch, but yes, it does bite you occasionally.
Yeah.
Tactical
tugboat, just to be clear, is my understanding. They came in and clarified.
That's right. They came in and said they also were referring to a tugboat, actually.
They directly cited a military, I think, tugboat that was used in like combat harbors or something. Yeah.
So we were right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the British who are wrong, Brad.
That's right. Yes. As always. No.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a big question. How do game engines work? You'll hear things like Game X is built on the Unreal Engine or the Unity engine and so on, but how does that affect the game, and what does it mean for me as a gamer? Is it just a bragging right similar to a fuck you, my car has a V8? Or is it something to actually pay attention to as a gamer or user? As a gamer or user, no, absolutely not. Like, if the game is good, if it runs well, that's all that matters from the perspective of a player.
There's a lot of discourse about this, Brad.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know how much that stuff drives me up the wall. Every single topic on the planet has a grifter class attached to it now.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
And even the subcategory of video game engines has a whole like legion of grifters on Twitter now who like outrage bait over like, oh, the Unreal Engine sucks ass. Like, oh, based Kojima Productions using the godlike Decima engine. Like there's people out there who basically will just say, hey, if this game uses engine X, it sucks. If it uses engine Y, it's amazing. And like they seem to think it's as simple as that because they get paid on engagement now.
So
but that's not the case at all.
I feel a little bit maybe responsible for some of this because at Maximum PC in like 2001 or 2002, I wrote a feature that was really popular about game engines and what different ones brought to the table. But yeah, to your point, the dialogue around Unity blows, Unreal sucks, blah, blah, blah. Like I was watching a streamer the other day, and it was not to put somebody on blast, but they were talking about how Standing on Rocks was slidey in the same way in Rust and Tarkov, both Unity games. But that is, yes, that is a physics thing that is probably tied to Unity physics, the Unity physics engines that they use. But also it's because the collider on top of the rocks in those games is not big enough for the player capsule to fit on. So the physics doesn't know what to do. Right. So like everybody attributes stuff to janky engines or bloat or whatever. And generally speaking, these are all decisions made by game developers or by publishers or by expediency. And the game engine, what the game engine provides is a framework for making a game, right? That's it. It provides a series of APIs that you can use to draw things on the screen and take input from users and connect to networks and server infrastructure, and
handles internal game logic, that governs everything from upgrade mechanics to menus to world simulation and physics, player input, like you said, rendering, like it's a huge part of it, sound, playback, music, like it.
But the asterisk on all of that is that all of that stuff also, like the game logic stuff, no game engines provide game logic stuff. That's all written from scratch for every single game ever, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Physics is you have a physics engine that you can do basic things with. But for the most part, the game developer says, okay, here's what the jump length is going to like. There's no the Unreal feel is because Unreal ships a bunch of Unreal Engine demos that a lot of people use as the basis of their like if you're making a shooter, the common wisdom is start with Unreal Shooter as your template, because then you can also use assets from the Unreal Asset Store, because they're going to be pre-baked for that shooter template. Because that's everybody has a shared common language there, right? So that means that like your player capsule sizes are all the same as that shooter template, and that makes games feel necessarily the same. You don't have to do that. That's an option, right? If you're making a $300 million game, you're not going to do that. If you're making a game that you want to feel like it can compete with a $300 million game but costs $5 million, then you're probably going to do that. And that's kind of it.
I mean, game engines are just software, and software can be made to do anything if you modify it and adapt it to your needs enough.
Yeah.
I mean, within reason, like, obviously you're like, but you see it all the time. Like, you see developers talking about this, like, they used UE5 or whatever, but they ripped out blank component and rewrote their own or something, or modified it. You know what I mean? Like, well, and you can customize and adapt the engine to do things that it wasn't made to do out of the box, or to massage the way it does things. But I mean, like you said, that requires work, and that requires scoping around that work, and et cetera.
Well, and there's big downstream consequences. So like, we rewrote a big chunk of the sound of the WWise sound engine implementation in Unreal when we were working on the Anacrusis, and it turned out to be a huge boondoggle, because when we needed to take a new Unreal update to fix a different bug, that required a ton of refactoring to support to bring our changes forward into the new version. And so like, generally speaking, if you're working on a budget, if you're working in an indie scale, you don't want to, even if you have source code access, which everybody does now, like, you don't want to modify the source code of the engine, because you want to be able to take those engine upgrades. Because like, if you're shipping a game on Godot and you release it on Steam originally, and then Sony and Nintendo call and they're like, hey, we'd like to get your game on our platforms, but the plugins that work with the Sony infrastructure and the Nintendo infrastructure are on two different versions of Godot. Like, you have to be able to port your game to those different engines of Godot, or you have to spend way more time backporting the PlayStation infrastructure plugin and the Nintendo infrastructure plugins to work on your game. So it's like, keeping your stuff portable and easily upgradable makes a ton of sense. So, but yet, just generally speaking, the YouTubers who bitch about Unreal and Unity and all that stuff are not generally particularly well informed.
No, they are definitely not. Like, I feel like Kojima Productions is an excellent test case for people taking the wrong lesson from the situation, because okay, they shipped the two Metal Gear Solid 5 games on the Fox engine, and now they shipped the two Death Stranding games on the Decima engine.
Yeah.
On a technical level, the thing that all those games have in common is that they look very good for the hardware, and they're also very performant for how good they look. And for some reason, people have taken the lesson from that of, oh, the Fox engine is so godly. Oh, the Decima engine is so godly. Nobody ever seems to stop and think, maybe Kojima Productions is just really good at building within the scope of what their technology can support. Like, maybe they are really good at understanding how to get good visuals out of their technology without pushing it so hard that the performance suffers. Like, it's never, hey, these developers are good at their jobs. It's always, oh, the software they're using is so amazing or sucks.
Yeah, but they make that software too.
Right.
But also, there's two things there. There's a novelty aspect, so that because it's not using the same Unreal renderer and all that stuff, the same Unreal lighting model, things look different, and different. Our brains think different is good, right? Which is good. That's a good thing. Awesome for them. The other thing is, those are not general purpose engines. Those are engines that are built for specific games. And like, there's a reason they didn't bring, I mean, there's multiple reasons they didn't bring Fox forward for the new thing, but like, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars making Death Stranding. It's an enormous amount of money. And like, they built a bespoke engine for that. We saw what happened, Battlefield, DICE made a bespoke engine for Battlefield years and years ago. And when EA tried to adapt that to general purpose use, the same way that Epic turned Unreal over a decade and a half into a multi-purpose game engine, it was an enormous disaster on almost every front. Like, all of those games that shipped with Frostbite had problems.
Yeah.
And there were production problems, there were delays, there was bad crunch, there was all the stuff that makes video games shitty, because they were taking a bespoke engine that was built to make Battlefield games and trying to jam Need for Speed and I can't remember what else. Mass Effect and Dragon Age and all these other not fast-paced military shooters with vehicles games into them.
Anthem, great example.
So like
Battlefield is another great example that you still see where these types of people that talk shit about engines all the time or talk shit about game developers will post the intro or that aircraft carrier scene from Battlefield 3. I think it's 3 or maybe 4. And they're just like, games look like this 15 years ago. What happened? And the subtext is always, why are game developers so bad at their jobs now? Like, that's always what they're never stopping to realize exactly what you just said of like, that is like an on rails cinematic sequence of a person in a plane on an aircraft carrier. Like there's no geometry in that scene except for a plane and an aircraft carrier. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not a big open world environment with all kinds of like, with a, massive possibility space or whatever. It is a very constrained, effectively hallway scene, which, like you said, with technology built exactly around the needs of that scene, it's like
it's like fighting games. Fighting games look really good because they blow the entire console's poly budget on 2 characters and a little bit of background,
and a background with a fixed camera angle, right?
Yeah.
Like Brendan and Sanjay talked about that on the Skin Deep episode. I was like, why didn't the Doom 3 lighting catch on? Because it looked so much better than everything else at the time, and they were like, because it didn't scale beyond a game with like tight dark hallways, basically. Like a lot of game engines are built specifically for the needs of what the game is doing and do not work beyond that. Anyway, there's just so much more nuance to the technical implementation of modern video games than a lot of the sort of outrage class on social media gives credit to.
Well, and then the last part of it is that the art makes a huge difference, right? Like, if you look at, I love to reference Star Wars Outlaws for this because that game is art dense in a way that even most AAA games aren't these days, right? When you walk through one of those cityscapes, there's a bazillion physics-based props everywhere you look, and like the game looks incredible. It looks grimy and gross the way you want a 70s Star Wars to look, and that's not engine. That is a bazillion people in 10 studios around the world spent 5 years making pots, like bespoke pots and trash cans and plants and little guys and weird shit that's on tables and stools that only work for one specific kind of Star Wars alien and like all sorts of nonsense. It's not like the engine just takes that work and displays it. It's like praising your word processor, right?
Yes.
So anyway,
like, even a very well architected performant engine can buckle if you cram too much stuff in there at one time, right?
Yeah. But also don't listen to people who yell about this stuff on YouTube because usually they're kind of doofuses.
Yep.
Digital Foundry is the exception.
Yes.
Well informed.
I mean, those folks read white papers. Like,
well, I mean,
they are paying attention to what goes on as SIGGRAPH. Like, they are not.
They understand white papers is, I think, the more important thing. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Okay. Question from Hornet. Why is it that my phone can recognize what song is being played inside a crowded restaurant from inside my pocket? But when I call someone, I sound like I'm using the microphone that came with the Xbox Live starter kit in 2002.
It's because of the codecs that we use for phone calls. If you use FaceTime audio, it sounds nice.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess there's a lot of questions here. A, what kind of phone you're using? B, what is facilitating the phone call on the software end?
Yeah,
there's
but
a lot of variables there. But
I was going to say, like, codec. The codecs are they upgraded the basic codec for voice calls a few years ago. So it used to be a GSM, like a really incredibly low bit rate. And now with the LTE change, they changed it to a higher bit rate, but it's still pretty low by modern standards. Voice over LTE is the current thing. And it's like, I'm trying to find the codec bit rate, but it's still shockingly low. It's like 512 kilobits or something like that.
Voice quality. You may be unsurprised to hear it sounds like there are multiple types of like subcategories even within the voice over LTE.
Shocking.
Let's see. The AMR WB Plus codec has a wide bit range from 5.2 to 48 kilobits. Yeah, you're right. Even 48 is pretty small. EVS offers a wide range of bit rates from 5.9 kilobits to 128. 128 is like better, I guess.
128 is like well, it's the quality we post the podcast at.
Yeah, although I mean that's a different, that's using an MP3
different codec. Yeah,
the MP3. The quality is a function of both bit rate and kind of general quality of the codec at encoding data. Or compressing it rather. So we can't say for exactly. But anyway, that's
yeah.
It looks like Fraunhofer. Remember them?
Yeah, makers of the MP3.
Yes, Fraunhofer, creators of the MP, like notoriously the people you had to pay money to back in the day for an MP3 or MP2 player.
Yep.
Or, the vanguard of codec licensing fees, let's say. But anyway, apparently they have been in the voice over LTE game because, of course. Anyway.
But yeah, their thing hasn't taken off. So
yeah, so like anyway. that's been the whole point of like you said, kind of voice calls over FaceTime, or I mean everything, WhatsApp, Signal,
yeah,
they all have built-in voice calls that are higher quality. I'm sure Google has similar stuff on Android to Apple's FaceTime stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you use Signal or FaceTime or WhatsApp is my understanding. Is what most people do.
Do you know what is the Wi-Fi calling option on iPhones? Is that an Apple level feature, or is that a carrier like general phone technology?
That is the
feature.
Carrier delivering your LTE calls over the Wi-Fi network. It's basically bridging when you're at home. It'll bridge off of their network and onto yours so that you have better signal. If you're in a low spot.
Got it. So that's less about better phone call quality and more about just better signal if you're in a shitty cell signal area.
Well, it lets you get SMS messages and phone calls if you're off of their grid, which is nice.
Okay, yeah, that's totally different. That makes sense. Okay, last question.
Yeah,
I hope you have a good answer for this because this is a complicated one from Xander.
Oh, I thought it was the hair care one.
That one's easy. We'll save that one.
Okay.
Xander, I've been looking for some new home accessories, lamps and art, etc., and I'm having a hard time figuring out what is just a drop shipper reselling Alibaba items versus who are the originators of a piece that got duped by manufacturers in China versus what is just originally from Alibaba or a dupe of a much more expensive item that isn't made anymore. I can find posts on Reddit for some items that support all three positions. What do you do to sort through dupes?
This is I like to think of this as the Etsy problem now.
Okay, sure.
Because Etsy started out as a place that like craftspeople would make one-offs and sell them to people who are interested in buying cool art.
Yep.
Like small press expo, but on the internet. Yes. And now it's just a bunch of Alibaba dropshippers and a handful of original artists.
Real quick, dropshipper. I guess dropshipper is a middleman, right? Like to the earlier points, like the dropshipper is somebody who basically orders and resells stuff. Is that correct?
It depends. Sometimes they're warehousing stuff. Like sometimes they're buying stuff and then reselling it. But they are a middleman. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think middleman has a real hard definition, but I could be wrong.
Sure. But what I mean is a dropshipper is just somebody who is facilitating the sale of something somebody else made, right? Like they're just like importing and reselling.
Yeah, but that's what Walmart does too.
Well, yes, but I mean that term has become pretty commonly used. I feel like in this era, but maybe it's something that's reserved for like small individual sellers.
Well, I think dropshipper specifically means somebody who's like buying it and having it shipped direct from Alibaba to the customer rather than like going through a warehouse.
Never taking physical possession of the item.
Yeah, I think technically probably the Etsy folks who do this are not necessarily doing that. I think that they're probably buying like a run of stickers or whatever and then getting them here and then packaging them up and reshipping them on when they sell them on Etsy for a 10x markup. But yeah, I don't know what a good, I look at the reviews. I don't buy stuff that looks like it could have come from Alibaba on, like, if I'm going to do honestly, the easiest way to do it is to go look at AliExpress and see if you can find the same thing on AliExpress. And then if that's the case, then that's where it came from.
Yeah.
And then for stuff like furniture, I buy either used local, like I watch Craigslist or Facebook Market or whatever, or buy direct from IKEA or whatever. If I'm not buying designer furniture right now. I have a kid. But if I was, I would go to local places that are reputable would be my guess. My recommendation.
Best advice I can give here. I'm not buying a lot of like home goods and accessories that would fit into this category, but I guess I do run into this with electronics sometimes.
Yeah, Shoes too, oddly.
Yeah. Like I talked about on the patron episode that I think is probably up by the time this posts. I bought a very specific right angle USB cable.
Yeah.
It was a right angle USB B 3.0 cable, like very, very specific. Hard to find. The first one I bought didn't work and has to be returned, but it's a piece of junk. The reason I bring this up is there are sites out there that specialize in weird specific cables like this. Like I found one site that was selling the exact kind of cable I need for $50.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was one other one on Amazon I hadn't tried yet besides the one that didn't work. And I was literally like eyeballing the molding around the cable where like the cable meets the connector and stuff.
Oh, see if there was too much flange or whatever.
Well, no, trying to see if that $50 cable on that external site was actually the exact same cable out of the same factory as the $10 one on Amazon that I hadn't tried yet.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to find a cable that worked, but I didn't want to spend $50 on it if it was actually just a huge markup on the exact same cable I could have gotten for a fifth of the price. So like in some cases, I guess it's down to just eyeballing like tiny details on the item to see if it's actually the same thing you'd be getting on AliExpress for way less.
The other thing, like for cables and electronics and stuff like that, there's also like Grainger and McMaster's Car, and there's a bazillion actual real places that sell good stuff that you can go to. In my experience, the real problems are the ones that allow third-party sellers. So like Amazon and Newegg and Etsy and all of these, and eBay, frankly, at this point, which was all third-party sellers. But you're not going to get a knockoff if you're the thing from McMaster's Car, right?
Yeah. But you're going to pay for it.
I mean, well, don't pay for expedited shipping is the lesson there, because it's real. It's like $75 every time I've done it by accident. Anyway, I think this is as good a place as any to wrap. Oh, do you want to do one more? Or are we saving that one for next time?
Yeah, let's do the hair care one real quick.
Okay.
Also from Ambush Penguin Charlie, getting a twofer this month.
Ooh.
How much of your hair care and maintenance is done at home versus at a barber or salon? You have beard trimming folks for folks with equally long beards that have grown longer than a wall can keep short? What about long hair tips? Always curious about other people's methods. I recently started going to a haircut place again.
Oh, wow.
After asking my girlfriend to trim my hair for most of the last 5 years when the pandemic started.
Did you go to a barber or a salon?
It is a neighborhood haircut place that is a block and a half from here.
Okay.
That has been here for like 30 years, and I never even noticed it before.
They're doing a nice job. You look good.
Well, thank you. They charge $15 a haircut.
I need to start coming to your place. My guy's way more expensive than that.
I give roughly double that because that's still a third of what a haircut costs around here.
Yeah, I mean, $60 is the cheapest I've found one lately.
Yes. Yep.
So I do. I mean, I go to the haircut. I get my haircut at the barber, and then I occasionally will pay for a beard trim. I used to do it more when they were $10, and now that it's $25, I'm less enthusiastic about it. I have a nice set of wall trimmers that I keep a guard on. I put a 3 guard on or a 2 guard on, and I use I brush the beard when I need to trim it, and I just freehand it real careful but I don't touch the guard to the skin. Obviously, I'm just shaping. It's like using hedge trimmers. You got to kind of glide above.
Did you ever think about just losing the beard?
I have asked if that is an option, and I've been told by my child, who has never seen me without a beard except for in pictures, that she would freak the fuck out, was the direct quote. I
saw a viral post going around the other day of I did not see it before. They did not include a before picture of a guy who clearly has had a long beard for a long time, but it was like a, hey, we're picking up our child from school beard reveal kind of thing of like child gets in the back seat. Dad turns around to say hi.
That is not an okay way to do it, man.
She straight up started crying.
Yeah, I think my daughter is old enough now that she wouldn't start crying, but it would be disturbing for her.
Yeah,
and also I like the beard. I don't know what my face looks like under there anymore. It could be a nightmare.
That was my real question is, do you like having it? Because it is maintenance. Like it is, I'm sure it presents some challenges when you're eating soup and things like that.
It's less maintenance than shaving every day was, though. And I have a signature look, I think, now. I don't know. Is it important to have a signature look in our line of work?
Sure, probably. Do you ever think about like trimming it way down to like kind of a close cropped again?
I come up and down as this. I like it a little long because I want to lengthen the face just a little bit. you know, but yeah, I've been, let's see, about 6 months ago, I did the thing where I took like 10% off a week for 2 or 3 weeks just to see if anybody noticed, and nobody noticed because I did it slowly and gradually, and you know, that's fine. Yeah. If it gets too long, it's a real pain in the butt. And then you have to start like, you don't want to find food in there.
Yeah. Also, I guess, you know, once it grows out, it's not a problem anymore. Like I am perpetually, I hate the feeling of new beard.
Oh yeah.
It's all itchy and ugh.
No. Once it like it's soft now, I put oil on it every day to keep it like soft and shiny and it's, you know, it's like the maintenance is low most of the time. It's like every week or every other week I give it a touch up trim and bring the sides in. The problem is that most barbershops now, when you ask for a beard trim, they're like, well, what number do you want? I'm like, I don't want one number. I want shorter on the sides and on the bottom, because like obviously it's a freaking long beard. So then they want to do like a scissor cut on it. I'm like, I'll just do this myself. I got it. Yep. The hard part is the mustache, because like you gotta like you can really mess yourself up if you get into the mustache region the wrong way. Nobody wants I can't pull off like an Amish beard where it's just like no mustache but the beard. I don't think that's a good look for me.
Like that's probably not going to work.
Yeah. On that note, I think we'll wrap it up for this month. This week's episode. Thanks to everybody who sent in questions. As always, you can send them to techpod@content.town or post them in the question seeking answers channel in the Discord if you're a member of the TechPod Patreon and support the show. If you do that, we appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Yes, we do.
If you'd like to find out how you can support the show, you can go to patreon.com/techpod, where for $5 a month, you get access to the Discord. It's full of beautiful nerds, just to be clear.
It is.
Wonderful people.
Yep.
Talking about Linux and nerdy stuff and
plenty of other stuff too.
Like there's a bunch of other things like food. The food channel's been popping off lately. Mm-hmm. We're coming up on Thanksgiving, which is like prime TechPod food channel season as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Thriving video game discussion. And old. I've been spending a little time in the Old Ass Computers channel recently.
Yeah.
Some fun stuff going on in there. Friend of the show, E, told me about something called FujiNet the other day.
Ooh.
Which I think there's a hardware and a software component to it, and it's like specific to each old computer, but it's basically an attempt to, FujiNet is a multi-peripheral emulator and Wi-Fi network device for vintage computers. So it's like, I saw something similar to this for the MSX is how this conversation started, which was a cartridge for the MSX that has Wi-Fi hardware and a network stack built into it. It's basically like Wi-Fi support for old computers that predate Wi-Fi by 30 years.
Oh, that's cool.
But it basically lets you load old software over a network to old computers. Like
that sounds wonderful.
I'm looking right here, Apple II, Atari, Commodore, Tandy, like all old computers are getting support for this, where you can basically load like games and other programs from the internet over a little Wi-Fi plugin that fools the old computer into thinking it's something else.
That sounds wonderful.
A lot of neat stuff going on out there.
Yeah, it's a good community of people. You also get access to the Patreon exclusive episode. This month, Brad and I just kind of rambled about Linux stuff and some other things that we're working on. Mm-hmm. And you can do all that by going to patreon.com/techpod. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. And if you're in your car, hey, just tell your phone, hey, leave me a reminder to subscribe to the TechPod when I get out of the car.
Yep. The highest possible use of such technology.
Yeah, exactly. As always, thanks to everybody who supports the show. We appreciate you. We are listener supported.
We do.
But a special thank you goes out to our executive producer tier patrons, including James Kamek, David Allen, Twinkle Twinkie, Bunny Money, Jordan Lippett, Andrew Slosky, Infelicitus Rips, Jason Lee, and Pantheon, makers of the HS3 high-speed 3D printer. It's the end of the month, so we also want to do a shout out to our associate producer tier supporters, including Graham Banks, Thomas Shea, Jad Rita, P. Tibbs, Steve Lynn, Tom Fuller, Just Associate Wedge, Arthur Gies, Nathan Phelps, Ben Tallman, Tom Hilton, Andre M. Burke, PE, Andrew Dicey Scholdice, Alejandro Navarro, Matt Walker, parentheses Walkman 8080, close parentheses, Sanchit Kumar, Felix Kramer, Kerp, Brutal Kerfluffle, and Eric. Thanks everybody so much. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we would not be here without you. Thank you.
No, we would absolutely would not. And that'll do it for us this week. I hope everybody has a lovely week, and we will see you next week with another edition of the Tech Pod. As always, please consider the environment before printing this podcast. Bye, everybody.